Of all the features that you can add to a Web 2 site, probably the most important one of all is discussion. This is what makes it truly Web 2. When you can see the users expressing their opinions, content is thereby automatically created. And that is what I'm going to try to do next. We've got all this list of papers, and by clicking on the links here that you see in the page, if you click on the links, it'll take you to the paper itself. But what we want instead maybe is also a link to a discussion about the paper, which might restate the abstract and the author and things like that again, but then allows underneath users to actually make comments about the paper. Okay, so how are we going to go about that? Well, I would suggest first of all in this this mobile standards.aspx page, the first thing we'll do is we'll add a link for each paper. We'll add a link to a discussion, and that will take us to a separate page with a discussion. And on that discussion page, we'll have all the kind of previous postings made to the discussion, as well as a text box in which the user can then make a new posting. Okay. But first of all, we need to create a link for each of these papers to go to a discussion page. Okay. So let's go into the ASP for that page. Okay, mobile standards.aspx.vb. What we want to do is add a word next door to the title of the paper, and with a link to saying discuss. Okay, basically. Now, what we've got at the moment, the way we generate those pages, those kind of links, sorry, if you like, is we have this DB read, so we go through the list of records that have been returned from the database, and one of them, the TR controls add get cell with text, which if you pass two parameters, you'll get you pass the title and the hyperlink. What will be returned is the title enclosed within a hyperlink. So by clicking on the title, it goes to the place where the paper is. So what I'm suggesting we do here is we add a further link, which will be a further parameter, which will be the ID of the paper that is from the papers table, the ID of that paper, such that the user, by clicking on that, will then go to a discussion page dedicated to only comments about that paper. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do that. Okay. First of all, we need to actually make sure we can get a reference to the ID of the paper. Remember, what we're actually doing is selecting a distinct set of data from the papers, weeks and tags query inside Access. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is kind of in the papers, weeks and tags query is we need to add an extra field, which is the ID field. I mean, I've already done it here. But what you would do is if you right click on papers, weeks and tags, go into design view, and then make sure that add an extra field, which is going to be the ID from the papers table, such that becomes part of the paper, weeks and tags query. Okay, so that's the first kind of adjustment you need to make to the database. Okay, let's close down the database for now. And so once you've done that, in this query, where we display the table, instead of just playing title, author, number, abstract, hyperlink, and username, things like user, we can also put in here ID. Okay, so sorry, I need to stop the thing from working. So I'm going to type in ID, comma. And for all of these queries, I'm going to add an extra ID field. This meaning that when we're running the SQL, we also get the ID comes back with all the other fields like title, author, number, abstract, etc., etc. So we got that. And once we've got that, what we can do now is, what I'm thinking we can do is adding an extra parameter here, which would take not only the title and the hyperlink where it's going, but also the ID. Okay, so let's do that right now. So comma dbRead dot item open bracket quote ID. Okay, so now we're passing three parameters. Of course, now at this point it puts a little blue line underneath, which indicates that that's not allowed, because we don't have a function called getCellWithText which takes three parameters. We can easily make that. Okay, so let's kind of type in something like private function get cell with text by val cell str as string, by val. Let me find out what is the other values. URL address as string, and then by val paper ID as integer this time. Okay, so we've got all that. Okay, now what we can do, an easy way of starting off this function would be, well, let's kind of put in an end function, of course, that will certainly help things. Okay, so what the first thing we can do is actually run the other function, which only takes two parameters. So you could say sort of dim my cell as table cell equals get cell with text, and then just pass in the original parameters, such that we will still get the title inside an HTML, and inside a table cell, we'll still get the a link to the paper from its title. Okay, but then what we're going to do is add into that. So we're going to say my cell dot attributes. No, sorry, I'm wrong. My cell dot controls dot add. And let's first of all let's add a literal control, which just put some space between the title of the paper and the link to a discussion page. So let's say new literal control open bracket quote, and let's put in a pipe, and let's put in and NBSP semicolon twice, which means two forced spaces. Okay, so just going to put in a literal control with some forced spaces in there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add another hyperlink, but just with the word discuss, and then a link to another page which will take the paper ID as a parameter, as part of its query string. So let's kind of, imagining that we're going to create a page called discussion.aspx, let's imagine that. So we can say this my cell.controls.add, no sorry, so let's create a hyperlink object. So dim hl as hyperlink. Okay, hl.text equals discuss, and then the link hl.navigate URL equals, let's say, discussion.aspx question mark ID equals quote, and which I think is the parameter I'm passing to this, paper ID. Okay, that's indeed what it is, paper ID. Okay, so we've done that. We've got this HL. Okay, so HL. Okay, our dim HTML as new hyperlink. That's the reason we're getting some warning stuff. There's a data as new hyperlink. Okay, we pass it out, and now that we put we add the hyperlink mycell.controls.add and then HL. So that's now adding the hyperlink to the previously created link to the paper on the web. Okay, so we've done that now, and now what we can do is return my cell. Okay, so now we've got, if you like, we've got an overloaded function called getCellWithText, which can take just one string, and it produces just an HTML table cell with a piece of text in it. We've got a cell with text containing two functions, which we're taking two parameters, which will then produce a cell with a link in it. And now we've got getCellWithText having three parameters, which will give us two hyperlinks as a consequence. Okay, so now, there which is getCellWithText. So now if we go back into here, where it says getCellWithText dbReader, so we've got there, we're passing the ID in, and now let's see what that looks like if that works. So all we want is a little kind of bit of text at the side of the title of the paper, which will be a link to another page where we can discuss the paper. So we've got this word discuss there, a link, yes, ID. So I'll put, if you look under the kind of bottom left-hand corner, got discussion.aspx ID equals 1. There it says discussion.aspx ID equals 2. So click on this discuss link, it'll take us to this other page. So that's the first part done. The second part now is to change the ASP database such that we can have something which is going to save discussion postings